Give it a few more seconds. Let me see. 3, 2, 1, you're live.
Welcome, everyone, to the People's Water Board Water Wednesdays webcast. We do this every Wednesday. We talk to water protectors and water warriors from all over Michigan and talk about all the things that's facing our water and the struggles that are being waged against those things. So I'm here with my co-host, Nicole Hill and Rosalind Walker. I'd like to welcome Rosalind back. She wasn't with us the last couple of weeks and we really missed her presence. So welcome back, Rosalind.
Thank you for having me back. And I missed you guys too.
We really did. It's not the same show without you, my dear. And so we're here with Deb Hansen. She's a water and climate protector. I've known her for years and years and years. We work on Line 5 resistance together. She is also an Interfaith minister and chaplain, and she's on the board of Interfaith Power and Light. Welcome, Deb.
Thank you for the invitation. It's just great to see your faces.
We are thrilled to have you here and be having this really important conversation. It is the time to be talking about it, about the extractive industries that trash our water. And of course, everybody's talking about Line 5, the resistance to Line 5 to get it shut down, and the resistance to Line 3 to stop it from being fully built, which they're looking at the end of October, it sounds like, for the finishing of that pipeline. And you went there. And I was hoping maybe we could maybe start off with that, and then we could get into other things. Does that sound okay?
I'd love to talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
So, we had a multi-faith delegation from Michigan that made this long drive to Minnesota. And the event was called the Treaty People Gathering. So I'm thinking to myself, Treaty people, these are my Native friends. And one of the things that they told us, we had a day of training out there, and there were, I think, over 2,000 people who came, including some of our other friends from Michigan. And they said, no, we're all treaty people, because in a treaty, multiple parties sign the treaty. So everyone's representative here on this part of Turtle Island signed this treaty, and we all share a responsibility for living up to the terms of these treaties. And oh, by the way, y'all have broken all of them. And that was a real shift for me. So that was one thing that stood in my mind. This also reminded me when I was back in school, I think it was 5 years ago, we were right in the middle of the semester, and a call went out from Standing Rock for clergy to come. I think they got this idea from what happened in Selma after Bloody Sunday. And we had no business going out. We had a very short time to prepare. And within 48 hours, we had 8 people. We rented 2 cars. We drove from Berkeley, California to North Dakota to support. So it's really exciting to see people come together. Say one more thing, is there were 2 nonviolent direct actions that day. And I and some of my party going out were willing to risk arrest, but not everyone was, and that's always cool. So we decided to go to the cooler event, I guess you could say, the one that didn't even have any arrests that day, rather than going to the one at the pumping station, which was actually pretty scary for a while. 79 people were arrested, and it went on through the night, and the sheriffs left. When it started raining during the night, said, if you all want to be locked down to equipment all night, that's fine. We will see you in the morning. And there were so many people that it overwhelmed the system, and they had to send people to 8 different counties. But I wanted to say just a word about the action that we were at. It was in the middle of nowhere at Coffee Pot Landing, not at the headwaters, but very near the headwaters of the Mississippi River, a mighty river, the headwaters, the source of life. So this was before the drilling began under the rivers there. And this was, if you can imagine, the most beautiful, pristine marsh with this river that you could walk across in 2 steps, just totally unspoiled. And there you had, I call them skids, but it was creating a platform on both sides of this marsh for the drilling equipment to come in. And though there were no arrests, we had the movie stars there, Jane Fonda was there, water ceremony. It was 97 degrees out and it was mighty uncomfortable. And some people ended up not going just because of the weather, some elders. Anyway, so we literally, those of us willing to risk arrest, were snaking through that marsh, making a little path out to those skids. And so I was like in that water, in that land. And that was the beginning of an 8-day occupation that I actually went back and ended up cooking, being the only elder among this party who cooked for the occupiers there. But what I wanted to say is that in the drilling at that place, that's had not 1, but 2 frack outs. And those aren't the only ones. They were drilling under rivers.
What frack out is, what that means?
Yeah, oh, good, yes. This is horizontal drilling under the river. And so they go into mud. Sometimes they will hit an aquifer and that sprays mud and whatever chemicals that are being used into the water.
Thank you for explaining that.
Thank you.
So the fight against Line 3, right? It's to stop them from finishing a pipeline going through the Mississippi headwaters, right?
Well, it's not just the Mississippi headwaters. I can't remember off the top of my head, Val, how many rivers that they have to drill under.
I think it's 6 rivers that they're going to be drilling these pipelines, oil lines through. I won't say pipelines, oil lines through. I think it's 6 rivers. And when you was talking about them hitting the mud and then the chemicals and everything get into the, burst out into the water, that means that it's getting into the fish that we're eating. And it's also, if we swimming in this water, it's also getting into our system too, so that's a lot of things that we need to look forward to and really try to stop these things,
Yeah, and sorry, Val, go ahead.
No, I was just saying thank you for that process.
Okay. Yes, thank you as well. Yeah, and I really appreciate you saying that, because life is a circle. And yeah, water, this is about water, but it's not just about water.
It's about human life and losing life from drinking contaminated water, or losing life from eating contaminated fish, or it's not even it's about more than just life. You have birds, you have seagulls, you have, all types of mammals that live in water that this thing is affecting.
Yeah,
so,
and who deserves to be well?
That's the question.
All do.
Wow.
And the thing is it's not even just the water, because people have to take a moment and understand just how vital water is. Water is the element that affects everything. So as you were saying, Rosalind, where it can contaminate the water and affect the fish it also contaminates the soil. So even the food that we attempt to grow can be grown in contaminated soil. and we all know that all the elements work in union together. So if the water is contaminated, the land can be contaminated, the air will become contaminated in that area, all for a profit for these companies to gain money. And it was really, shocking because, in the beginning, I learned that Enbridge was a Canadian company.
Mm-hmm.
And it really just seems like a lot of companies surrounding water issues are not US companies, but are allowed to penetrate and permeate, the waters within the United States, not realizing that, especially with Michigan, we have 21% of the world's fresh water, not just Michigan's fresh water, not just the US's fresh water, but the world. And when our waterways become contaminated, it's not just, a Detroit issue, a Flint issue, a Michigan issue. It's a world issue.
Well, something like that at the Great Lakes would be a global issue. It would be
Yes,
a
a global.
But
Exactly.
when we talk about what you just said, who deserves to be well? Now, as far as Enbridge is concerned, nobody.
They're shareholders.
Not the ecosystems, not the animals, not the humans, not the water. Their money trumps all of that. Their profits trump all of that. So it's like the whole extractive system that is working against us, literally trying to kill us. Is that what when you were asking that question, Deb, what were you thinking?
There is a movement that is started right now globally that looks at the rights of nature.
That's right.
So so it's in the sense of, a fish deserves to be well, not just because I might be deciding to eat that fish, but because that fish is a living being and has dignity in life and is sacred unto itself, as are the Great Lakes. So I think it's one river in New Zealand and 2 rivers in India that actually have full legal rights now to be well, to not be harmed. And a group of people down in Toledo actually worked to get legal rights for Lake Erie. And that was actually struck down in court. But all of this starts to set a precedent in my mind, and to capture people's imagination on what could be possible, which is why some of the signs that I saw in northern Minnesota of protect the sacred. We've got to look at this beautiful planet and each other again is precious.
That's
and
right.
Sacred. So a lot of the harm I think that's being done is because we're not respecting life right now.
That's right.
In any form. And if we're going to disrespect a river in the Great Lakes, we're going to disrespect people who are vulnerable.
That's right.
In how we treat animals, other animals, because we're animals, and the food system. And I also wanted to say a word about climate, because one of the things I really want us to do a better job at is connecting the dots on some things here. So there were signs in Minnesota that were very simple, but brought things together. And one of the signs said, water, climate, and community. And I'm like, right on. That's it.
Beautiful.
Because let's say we shut down line 5 and we reroute the oil somewhere else in the network.
Yes.
That's a fix for me to protect the Great Lakes. But Emma Lockridge was at the Straits at the Water is Life Festival a few years ago. And she said, don't forget about us. That if all you do is to reroute this oil somewhere else in the network, we are still going to get sick and die because I don't live near the Marathon refinery. I live in the Marathon refinery. And
Wow,
mercifully,
wow.
Emma's moved on now to a healthier.
Emma moved far. Yes, Emma
It's
did.
like,
And I'm very
you
proud
can't,
of Emma.
yeah, you can't not breathe the air where you live.
That's right.
You might be able to buy a bottle of water, but you can't not breathe the air where you live. And
And
all
you
of
shouldn't have to
these,
buy a bottle of water.
Right.
thank you.
To be drinkable.
Yeah.
But
Right.
once again, that goes back to what I was saying. If you look at one of the biggest bottlers in Michigan, which is Nestle, once again, it is not a company that's even US based. And it's like these companies from other countries are permitted to come in and basically rape our waters in our land, in our environment for profit. And I don't think a lot of people out there fully understand the ramifications of that. You know, I always use the term when I speak to people about water and I get the feedback of, well, I pay my water bill or nothing's wrong with my water. And I always let them know, like, you may think that now, but it affects you. It's only two ways. There is no middle ground. It either affects you directly and immediately or indirectly. There's no, oh, it doesn't touch me. It touches you. And I think if people realize that no matter what the circumstance is to them personally, that this is an issue that will affect them one way or the other, that they will take more interest and more concern with it. Because as Deb was talking about climate, I'm like a big history research buff, and I was researching Genghis Khan, and they were talking about the level of lives that he took during his warring period. He took so many lives that it literally changed the climate of the earth at that time, from the methane that was given off by the people that he had, killed. And basically, that's what these extraction companies are doing. And if you look at the root of extraction, even like in a dental phase, it's to remove something and it can't be put back. It's irrecoverably changed. So if you look at what these oil companies are doing, they're extracting and they're utilizing our water to do it, and you can't fix it. So the only way to do something about it is to prevent it from happening.
I mean, why it was so important to me to have this conversation today. Because when we talk about all of our struggles together, water connects it all, and it's all with all life, and having talking about the reasons why as a society we allow this is because a system teaches us that we don't have to love each other, that we not each other or the animals or the ecosystem. We don't have to. All we have to do is work.
Anything that exists, they don't think that we're supposed to love. But when you look at life in a whole key of things, the main thing is love. And we love on each other as humans, and we have to love on each other far as the water, far as the climates, far as the different things that they're doing to I will say, like, they go up and they mess around up in space or whatever. That makes these storms, that make these hurricanes and all different things, So we have to love on each other and stick together and fight these people, literally, like, physically fight with our minds and our hearts, to get these people to see, in which when you're looking at people with millions of dollars, they don't even care about people. And you look at it and say, well, I'm quite sure that they have family members that's dying.
The whole system says you're more successful if you're not loving each other. And so when we're protecting the sacred, we're talking about teaching our kids really early on to love each other, to love the earth, to take care of each other, to love water, to protect the water. and that we're stewards of the water. Being Michiganders, we're blessed by having this water around us, so that we're stewards of the water, so protecting it, and it's all sacred, right?
And then when we have clarity, and Bob, it's very special to me, and it's very, acceptable to me, because I have the way my upbringing was, and I know that we are supposed to put that spirit first, which is God, Jesus, Jehovah, whoever you all want to call that spirit, but I know him, and I know that he's with us, and more that we put more love into it, he's gonna walk with us. Like we saying we walk with him, he gonna walk with us. That's why I always put God in everything that I do, as far as the water, because he the one made the water. It's his. So he gives these things to us, and we have to take control of them, even though a lot of people say God is in control. No, we're in control. So that's why we get together and we have these water Wednesdays, and we have these protests and all these things that we do together, because we're giving love. We're
We love
not fighting, we're giving love,
we love each other.
So right, we giving love. So Deb, I really appreciate you, on everything that you're doing and everything that you're helping us with. And we learn from each other.
Yeah.
Deb, you've been fighting now, Line 5. We're since 2015, probably, right? Maybe a little bit before. What have you kind of learned along the way? You've evolved
2012.
in your perspectives and the way that you see things and connect the dots and talk about the system is very different than when we first started, right? What have you learned along the way that you could pass on to folks?
Oh my gosh, that is such a question. Thank you for that. I think one of the things I have learned is to not blame so much and to take on more responsibility. Because when I hate on Enbridge, this is a remarkably unethical industry, and I burn this stuff. I have a Prius, which still takes gasoline. I've been heating my home with propane and that type of a thing. So I am Rabbi Joshua Heschel. He's got a great line. He said, "Few are guilty, but all are responsible." So it got me looking more towards solutions. And that is where most of my focus has gone. So for me, there has to be resistance, and there has to be a vision that we're working towards. And I don't need more antagonistic relationships in my life. So that's why I frame things a little differently. So it's clear to me that nobody wants pipelines in their backyard. They're all crossing waterways, every one of them. So what do? My water's more important than yours? Well, with climate change, it's pretty clear. I think it's about 60% of the greenhouse gases that are emitted into the atmosphere that are heating the planet up at a rate that is really scary, more than scary. We've got to get off this stuff. And this is not easy. We got to stop using oil-based plastics. And I like that approach because it makes me feel accountable. It makes me feel like I'm part of the solution. And change needs to happen at all levels. It's got to happen at the household level. It's got to happen in the business community. And it's got to happen with government at all levels. So there is such a difference in my mind. I'm really blessed to live in an area that has a very strong local economy, where things are made here, they're grown here, we use them right here, and we recycle the waste and it's reused locally here, and it's super exciting. So for me, there is a huge difference between a local business that, yes, has to make a living, but is about meeting real needs, as opposed to a corporation that's about paying shareholders, the bottom line. That is what is motivating a lot of this junk right now and a lot of the harm that's being done. And it's all coming to a head right now.
Yeah.
All coming to a head. So I want us to be powerful, and I want us to have solutions. Yes, by all means, stop line 3, shut down line 5. But more is asked of us right now, I feel. More is asked of us.
We're at a moment where we have to shift. And it starts with us at home, because we have to teach our children how to shift.
Oh,
We have to, because they're being brought up in a very technology oriented society, right? So they have things, and they're able to talk about things and see things that me as a kid, I was never able to see those types of things. So they understand things. So rooted at home, we have to give them that protecting the sacred, protecting the earth, loving each other, that it starts there. And it starts there with them being accountable. I mean, I kind of like that about
right, and loving
that perspective. Like we're accountable for everything that we do, every little thing.
Yeah.
And that way we can shift that globally. Hopefully families all over are having that conversation.
Absolutely.
And we are accountable for each other, whether we immediate family, whether we next door neighbors, whether we down the street neighbors. We are accountable for each other. We need to love all. And when you say teach your kids, you teach your kids to love your neighbors, to love within their self. You have to love yourself to be able to give love. So you teach your kids to love, and we love all, and that way we can stand together as a whole.
That's right.
And I think also we need to understand with accountability that there are going to be people that we come across that feel that they're not accountable. And it's because they have the finances to say, I'm not accountable, that I can do what I want because I control the purse strings. And we have to let them know that this is not an issue of financial benefits. This is not an issue of money. This is an issue of life, of a living source. And I think what more families also need to do, and more people just in general, is look towards our indigenous community for guidance, because they know how to be good stewards of this planet. And they have been doing it for generations. And that's what we need to do. They know how to live on this planet and in harmony with it. And that's something that I think all of us need to learn.
Yes.
That's really honestly why I love Circle Pines. I don't know if folks know about Circle Pines, but my kids have been going to Circle Pines for years now, my older ones, younger ones. And they really, they teach them how to be so gentle and so gentle with the earth. And all the cool little things that they learn, they just come back totally different people. So I suggest that everybody try to do that with their family, that they're able to, if they're able to do that with their family, because it's just such a remarkable thing. They come back real lovers, and understand, they understand things differently, and they come back with total different perspective. So their love for spiders at this point, even, it's just, you know what I mean? Like the things that you wouldn't even expect, they learn.
And that for me is the spirit of a thing. The vision that I have is that we could love one another in our world back to life again, back to health again. And that's worth that's worth working for. And Nikki, I am so grateful you brought up the Indigenous people here on this land. And we all have Indigenous roots, right?
Yes.
In different places. But one of the things I love is, rather than talking about morality and ethics, I love the simplicity of doing things in a good way.
Right.
And Val, I honor your tears
Me
because
too.
we've got a lot of grieving to do at the
Yeah.
desecration of life of all
Yes.
kinds. And when we grieve together in community, there is fire energy that rises up. And that is the power
Yeah.
of collective grieving. And
Yeah.
let's do some more of that together.
Thank you.
Yes.
I just couldn't seem to help it.
No, it's from love. It's from love.
It's from love. And long
Don't
as you have
want
it
to see
from
harm
love,
done. Don't want to
like
see.
she said, we'll get some compensation for this thing here, you know, and we'll have everybody in one love, even the people with all the money.
We are in desperate
Yeah.
need of collective healing of some sort, especially,
Yeah.
you know, like the loss that people have experienced, not just, and the fear that people experience every day, waking up in with the climate the way that it is, and seeing all of these things happening to our water and each other every day. We are in desperate need of a collective healing. I don't know what that looks like, but I certainly know that it needs to happen. My friend Hayes talks about collective healing and how if we actually collectively tried to heal each other through this, that it would rock the whole system, that the whole system would bounce back if we were collectively grieving and healing together. She said it would rock the whole system. It just the whole, and they don't want that. They want everybody back to work, get this economy going. They don't want us collectively healing because they know that we're not going to do, things aren't going to be the same.
It's like two lesser
extractive.
You look at it like two lesser evils.
You know, whatever that looks, gotta do.
I'd love to continue that conversation.
Yeah.
You know, you have evil on this side, evil on this side, and we have to put love inside of there, you know.
Make a love sandwich.
And with us, right, and with us working together, and we got Deb with us, we can make this thing happen.
That's right.
With love.
Well, I love that we ended the conversation like this. Thank you so much.
Conversation, and such an important one. I hope that people at home, it is 12:33, so I'm going to wrap it up, but because I don't want to keep anybody any longer than I said they would. But you know, for everybody having this or everybody watching this, please have these conversations at home in your communities and take care of each other, take care of the water, and thank you
for our planet.
Yeah.
And let everybody know at home, it's okay to cry because those tears that you crying are water.
That's right. Let them run like justice. Tim Redigan says.
That's right.
Sound like justice. Let it do.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for always.
Right.
Thank you, Nicole and Rosalind, for every week having these conversations. And thank you, Deb, for all that you do and all you're going to continue to do.
And we hope to have you back again. Definitely continue the conversation.
And the conversation.
And I will be touching base with you, and I really, really appreciate you.
Good to see you.
I do, Deb. It really helps.
Thank you, everyone. I will see you next Wednesday. We're going to be talking about the ARPA funds next Wednesday. And what we should do with them when they come out. So it's going to be a really great conversation, or how we should demand they be taken, how they should be used. So it's going to be a really great conversation. Deb, thank you again. Rosalind, Nicole, I'll see you guys later. And everybody else, take care of each other.
All right, thank you so much.
Love you all.
Love you.
Right.
Love you.